Hello everyone and welcome back to Age of Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar, and in this video it's going to be my part 5 of my Beasts of Chaos army review as part of the Age of Sigmar army archive. And in this particular video we are going to be looking at the Thunderscorns. This is going to be like a Dragon Ogre unit, so essentially just Dragon Ogres and their hero, which is going to be the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. So what we'll be doing in this video when we go through them is I will have a unit card as I've made going through in this video the Dragon Ogres and their hero, and you can see on the screen it's just got some quick references on there that you guys may find useful, and also some nice models made by people that I've put their name on the picture for that as well, to maybe give you some inspiration. Right, so let us go into our first review. So this will be the Dragon Ogres. And we're firstly going to have a look at their lore. So Dragon Ogres possess might enough to best the most fearsome warriors their enemy can muster. Their hulking stature sees them loom over their opponents, and their savage skill at arms has been honed over long lifetimes. With storm winds howling behind them, the massive beasts rush their foes head on, massacring with frenzied speed before surging towards their next quarry. Though such tactics lack finesse, there is no questioning their effectiveness, for to try and blunt the charge of a Dragon Ogre herd is as impossible as holding back the thunderstorm. Aside from their enormous strength and unflagging fury, the most dangerous aspect of Dragon Ogres is the incredible resilience. Their draconic lower half is covered in thick plate-like scales, of which spears, swords and arrows ricochet harmlessly off them. Only by targeting their relatively soft underbellies or their broad ogroid torsos can a group of enemies even hope to do injury to the storm-weathered beasts. Few such blows are landed before the Dragon Ogres have hacked and smashed the life out of their foes, and what wounds the beasts do sustain are seldom long lasting, as the Dragon Ogres are struck by lightning. Their rent flesh reknits, broken bones and slashed muscles fused together by the energy of the tempest. Some say that in the way the Thunderscorn creatures can even grow lost limbs or severed heads, making them ready to fight moments later. So now that we know a little bit about the Dragon Ogres and what they're like in the narrative, let's see what they're going to be like on the table. So they are an other unit, however they are going to be battle line in your Beast of Chaos army if the general is a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. The minimal unit you can take them in is going to be a unit of 3 for 130 points, and the maximum size unit you can take is a unit of 12 for 520 points, and there is no discount there. And then going to see what they're like on their War Scroll. So looking at the stat wheel first, it's got an 8-inch movement, a 4+ save, bravery 6 and 5 wounds. So not bad movement, especially with the allegiance ability they get, where they get that extra d6 movement if you're lucky enough. And they're pretty, I would say, pretty hardy, because they've got the 4-up save and the 5 wounds. And then looking at the description, it says a unit of Dragon Ogres has any number of models, each armed with Arachnin foreclaws. In addition, each model is armed with one of the following weapon options: paired ancient weapons, Draconic Warglaive, or Draconic Crusher. So then looking at those melee weapons, so it looks like there's loads, but you have to obviously, you don't get all of them, you pick. But the interesting thing here is it doesn't say a unit has either a paired ancient weapons or Draconic Warglaive or Draconic Crusher. Each model can have a different one, which makes it quite interesting, because then you can have a unit do different things and be a bit like multi-purpose, like a bit of like a Swiss Army knife. So looking at those melee weapons, firstly we're going to have a look at the paired ancient weapons. This is a 1-inch range, 6 attacks, freeze hit, freeze wound, no rend, and 1 damage. Then we have the Draconic Warglaive, which is a 2-inch range, 4 attacks, freeze hit, freeze wound, minus 1 rend, and 1 damage. And then the Draconic Crusher is a 1-inch range, 3 attacks, freeze the hit, freeze the wound, no rend, and 2 damage. And then the Arachnin forearms, which they all get, or Rakenin forearms, whatever it's pronounced, It's 1-inch range, 2 attack, force hit, force wound, no rend, and 1 damage. So essentially it's just like a horse attack. But, you know, it's not a bad horse attack at that. Then moving on to their abilities, and they only have one, and this is called Storm Rage. So you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for this unit while it's wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Okay, so with that ability, I would say if you're taking a unit bigger than 3, the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is only going to buff one of them to get the rerolls in most circumstances, without trying to be too like pain in the arse of movement and stuff. I think realistically you probably only get one unit, but I may be wrong. Okay, so because this unit only has one ability, the only sort of thing to talk about is going to be the melee weapons, as they're the only sort of option you have for the unit. And my general thoughts are, is I quite often would compare Dragon Ogres to Bulgors because they're roughly the same point. You know, I believe Bulgors we looked at, they're 10 points more. And they do different things, is what I would say. Dragon Ogres, their weapons, they have quite a few attacks to their weapons, depending on which one you go for, but they generally have quite a few attacks. They all hit, apart from the raking, 4 claws, they all hit on 3s, which is good, and that puts them a step over the Bulgors, because like I mentioned quite a bit in the last video, the Bulgors hitting on 4s is quite a bit of a problem. So you've got good to hit and good to wound in, so you're going to get, a decent amount through. But where you start seeing the problems is rend. Only one of those options has rend. Now what I will say, when we look at the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, there isn't a spell he can take from the lore of the Beast of Chaos in the Thunderscorn lore bit that gives you an extra -1 rend. So you don't need to worry about that too much. Because to be honest, with me, what weapons I would take is the Draconic Crusher. Because yes, you only get 3 attacks, but it's 2 damage. And this isn't 40k. In Age of Sigmar, damages carry over, so higher damage the better. And you could say, well, you go with a paired ancient weapons, it's double the attacks, yeah, but I think if you go with Draconic Crusher, the 2 damage is going to be useful, especially how the Storm Rage is not, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for a unit that has a paired, ancient weapons or something. It's just whatever. So I feel like you're getting the most out of that with the Draconic Crusher. And like I say, for me, I just like weapons that do extra damage. If you were to look at the Draconic Warglaive, what you get there is you get over the Draconic Crusher is you get an extra range for 1 inch extra on that, so that's 2 inches. You get an extra attack and you get that extra end. But it's only 1 damage. And I think like when you look at some of these, how is it 1 damage? It generally looks pretty terrifying, some of these weapons. So I don't know why they're only 1 damage, especially how like normal ogres on foot do 2 damage. So I don't know why the Dragon Ogres don't do that. And it's a little bit sad because, when we read the lore, it does say, only very few things can, withstand the impossible task of trying to hold back a Dragon Ogre charge. To be honest, you could do it quite easily with most things in the game. It's not going to be too difficult. So I've been talking a few things about, negatives with them. So just to go over, the last sort of thing, it's going to be tough unit competition because you have to decide if you were to look away from Zangors and stuff and more traditional Beasts of Chaos, you'd be looking at what's better, Dragon Ogres or Bulgors. What I would say is Bulgors are more offensive, 100%. Dragon Ogres are more defensive. They've got 5 wounds and a 4-up save. That's pretty tough, especially, for any unit. If you take a unit of 6 of these guys, it's going to cost you 260 points. But, that is going to be 30 wounds with a 4-up save. And some other armies may look like that and they go, well, you're paying that much for a 4-up save, it's not that special. In the Beast of Chaos, as we've kind of already seen so far in the reviews that I've done, 4-up saves is not that common. I believe the Bestigors have it, but, it is different. So that's my sort of thoughts of these guys. These guys, if you're trying to use them as a offensive unit, I feel like you're doing it wrong. I feel like they are more defensive. Again, if you have experience this army, because like I said, I don't play this army, so if you have experience this army, you use them offensively and you have great success, fantastic. What I will say is the unit did come down in points in your handbook, I do believe. So, that's one thing. You've got a few Dragon Ogres knocking around at home, it's worth giving them a go. But for a unit that I think looks really cool, and a unit I would definitely want to test out if I had the army, they're not as good as they look, is what I would say. So you have to rethink and, like I say, I'd use them defensively. And like I say, if you've had success offensively, let me know in the comments, as it will be great to hear about it. Okay, and then keywords. They've got Chaos Beast of Chaos, Thunderscorn, and Dragon Ogres. So the next unit to look at is going to be the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. And firstly, again, let's have a look at its narrative. There is no beast of the warping wilds more dominant nor more terrifying than a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. From atop the tallest of peaks, it looks down upon the civilized lands, its hatred and disdain manifesting as a growing tempest. At the monster's bellowed call, the mountains shake to their foundations, and lightning is brought forking down from the skies. This declaration of disaster is heard for leagues in every direction, warning those who hear it to ready what defences they can muster. But the Shaggoth cares not what preparations are made, for its coming sees fortresses and teeming armies as pissing in the wind to its relentless fury. And then taking it back to the tabletop, this guy is a leader and he's a single model, obviously, for 170 points. So I'll be honest, when I looked at the Doom Ball and I saw that was 100 points and I couldn't believe it, I was thinking that the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is probably going to be quite surprisingly low in points as well, and 170 is 70 points more. So, you could almost have 2 Doom Balls for the price of this guy, but let us see what he is going to do on the tabletop, because to be fair, his War Scroll is not as bad as the Dragon Ogres, I would say. Okay. Looking at his stat wheel, he has an 8-inch movement, a 4+ save, a bravery 7 and 10 wounds. So fantastic amount of wounds there, because this guy does not have a damage table, so he doesn't get weak or anything like that. And I think that's one of the most highest wounds characteristic without having a damage table. I know there are other ones out there that probably are a little bit higher, but this is a solid one, to be fair, for the sort of points as well. Okay, and then looking at its description, it says the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is a single model, armed with a Stormwort axe, sweeping tail, and taloned forelimbs. Okay, so firstly, looking at the Stormwort axe, so it's got 2-inch range, 3 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, 3 damage. The only bad thing about that is only -1 rend. Apart from that, that is really, really nice, especially to have on like a guy that doesn't look too intimidating as well. So, that's a bit of a sneaky thing there. Almost a bit like the Doom Ball. And then we have the Sweeping Tail. So this is a 3-inch range. D3 extra attacks. 4 to hit, 3 to wound, no rend, 1 damage. Nothing really special there, but it is a 3-inch range, which is good. And then we have the Taloned Forelimbs. So this is 1-inch range, 2 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. So it might look like it's not really too special either. But, that may give you that extra 1 or 2 wounds. That means that you slay that enemy model. Okay, so then having a look at the abilities. So we have Beneath the Tempest. So if the roll off at the start of a battle round to determine who takes the first turn is a tie, roll a dice for each Thunderscorn unit on the battlefield. On a 4+, heal D3 wounds allocated to that unit. Okay, so if you get this off, it's not a bad one to be fair, because your Dragon Ogre's got 5 wounds, so you could heal a lot of wounds by doing this. The biggest thing I'll say about this, do not forget about it, as this is something I would definitely forget. So get yourself something that I've recently started to look at, which is Age of Sigmar. Well, I think it's called AOS Reminders, which is a fantastic thing. Basically, you go on there, it's a free website. You go on it, you type in your units in your army, and it just comes up with a reminder list. And this is something you definitely want on there, because that's something I would definitely forget. Because a lot of the time, when you roll priority, you're very excited, you want it, your opponent wants it, it could be game changing. So you both roll that dice, and if you get a tie, you're like, oh my god, it's a tie. And it could be like, I don't know, your second tie in a row or something. And you're just so worked up in the moment that I would, for me anyway, I wouldn't get a tie and go, oh, no, quickly heal my dragon. So I go, let's roll again, let's see who wins. So it's very fast paced. So you want to take a step back, go, oh, right, yeah, it does let me do this. And, you might not get any 4+s to heal back, but it's quite good. If it was on a 4+ heal 1 wound, I'd just forget about it generally, unless it's really important. But D3 is it's not bad if you remember, and if you get a tie. You can, I don't know, with Mass Hammer, but I say maybe this might go off once per game, maybe. But then again, some games I've had, and I must have got about 3 ties or something for priority roll. So, swings and roundabouts really of how often it's going to happen. Right, okay, and then the next thing to talk about is magic. So this model was a wizard, and it can attempt to cast one spell in your hero phase and attempt to unbind one spell in the enemy hero phase. It knows the Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and Summoning Lightning spells. And also it will know one spell from the lore, which we will go back to as it is going to be relevant. So the spell it knows in its War Scroll is Summon Lightning. So Summon Lightning has casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick a friendly Thunderscorn unit wholly within 20 inches of the caster and is visible to them. You can heal D3 wounds allocated to that unit. In addition, you can re-roll failed wound rolls for attacks made by that unit until your next hero phase. So let's say, for example, this is the only model on the table and you have to make this model as good as you can. Yes, you can put it on him to make a re-roll wound rolls, but I don't see why you would do that in most cases. What this would go on is your Dragon Ogres, obviously. And bear in mind, apart from their raking 4 claws, they're wounded on 3. So if you can re-roll that, you're doing the best you can do to guarantee those wound rolls going through. So it's not bad, and you get to heal again, which is very much, what we mentioned in the lore, that the lightning heals them and everything else. But what I would like to do is I would like to have a look at the Thunderscorn spell laws, because there are a couple on there that I really, really do like for this guy. So the first one I like is Hailstorm. I think is really great, and what that does is has a casting value of 6. They successfully cast, pick an enemy unit within 21 inches of the caster that is visible to them until your next hero phase. Half the move characteristic of and run and charge rolls for that unit. That's great. That is really, 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 really good. Because if you can affect the enemy's movement in this game, sometimes it can potentially make you win the game, which is absolutely massive. Especially how a few armies now have ways to half an enemy movement. So this is your your entry point to be able to do that in especially with a Thunderscorn heavy army or just generally in the Beast of Chaos. And pick an enemy unit within 21 inches. That's a huge range. It's not wholly within 21. That's just 21 inches. So yeah, that's a fantastic spell. That's better than the spell he has on his War Scroll, in my opinion. And it's also a lower casting value because this guy doesn't inherently get any pluses to cast, so I'd go for that one. The other one I like from the Lore of the Thunderscorn, or realistically it's called Lore of the Darkstorms, is going to be Sundering Blades. This is what I said would help your Dragon Ogre, so let's have a look. Sundering Blades has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick a friendly unit wholly within 8 inches of the caster that's visible to them. Until your next hero phase, improve the rend characteristic of that unit's melee weapons by 1. Okay, so the nice thing about it doesn't have to be a Thunderscorn. It can be anyone. And I know when I review units in these armies, I tend to break it down and go, this, is the Thunderscorn video, the last video is the Warhead video, and the video before that was Brayherd. And it almost feels like when I review them that they are their own armies, those individual subsections. They're not. That's just how I review them. So you could use this obviously on any of your other Beast of Chaos stuff. Doesn't even have to be Beast of Chaos. It's just pick a friendly unit wholly within 18 inches. Could be an ally. So there's lots you could do here, which is cool. And improve the rend characteristic of that unit's melee weapons by 1. Like I said, it makes your Dragon Ogres, who are kind of lacking rend, now with that extra rend. And the one that was the Draconian Glaive thing, that was 2-inch range and -1 rend, now -2. So you can do well on this, but you could say, well, I could do the other spell that will heal and will give my Dragon Ogre 3-roll wound rolls. That might be better. And to be fair, that might be better. Depends what you're fighting against. Obviously, if you're fighting against ethereal stuff, you're not going to be wanting to do Sundering Blades. Or if you're fighting, where was it? I can't remember the realm, but I know I was looking through the new realm rules, and there's one that makes -1 weapons basically not do -1 rend anymore. So anyway, that's just a few of the examples I wanted to look at outside the War Scroll. If you want me to go over the artifacts and command traits for the Thunderscorn heroes and stuff, the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth basically, please have a look at my video for that. I believe that was my part 1 video, I think. So please have a look at that for further details. So my overall thoughts on this guy is he has good attacks. To be fair, before I even looked at this guy, I thought his attacks were not going to be very good. I thought they were going to be similar to the Dragon Ogres, but I was happy to be proved wrong. So damage 3 is fantastic, especially when it's not just 1 attack, it's 3 attacks. That's good. And he's got a few extra ones that I wouldn't count on. It's mainly around that damage 3. He's a wizard, which is good. Again, you don't have loads of wizard options in this army. And especially if you want to go more sort of aggressive, where everything can fight in your army. you know, the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is a good guy. What I would say as well, he's just got an incredible amount of wounds for what he is. There's not, like I said, many models at 170 points for 10 wounds and no damage table. You know, it's almost like a Demon Prince, but it's got more wounds than that, which is cool. It's got a 4-up save, which is nice. To be honest, though, how they talk about these guys and say, you know, these dragon scales can, you know, like break weapons upon impact. Make it a 3-up save if you're going to fucking talk about it so much in the lore and make it sound really, really good. 4-up save, I mean, it's good in this army, but, you know, they make it sound fucking fantastic. Yeah, I would say this guy, again, similar to the Doom Ball, don't just charge him right into the enemy. Tag enemy units if you need to. Have him follow your Dragon Ogres to buff them and stuff while they move up, and then when your Dragon Ogres charge, this guy charges in. Your Dragon Ogres, like I say, are a more defensive unit, to be honest. Your Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is going to throw out some damage, but don't rely on it, I would say. And then to go over the keywords, we've got Chaos, Beast of Chaos, Thunderscorn, Dragon Ogre, Monster, Hero, Wizard, and Shaggoth. And then I believe I forgot to do it for the Dragon Ogres, so just quickly, it's a lot shorter. Chaos, Beast of Chaos, Thunderscorn, and Dragon Ogres. So, my overall thoughts on the, you know, Dragon Ogre units, if you like, is I would, firstly, talking about the Dragon Ogres, I would mainly take them if you really like the models. If you think the models are alright and are they worth taking, then no. If you like the models a lot, you know, you're always going to find a reason to take them. But they have got a job, and it's being defensive. And like I said, don't expect this unit to just charge out there and do insane amount of damage. You know, if you could +1 damage to these guys, that'd be cool. That'd be really good. That'd make them very killy. But actually, you can't do that. Unfortunately, they're not fantastic. I would say, though, they're not too expensive either. You know, like, I'd still say they could maybe be cheaper. But for 130 points, I believe they were, they're not too bad. If, you know, they're like 160 points, and yeah, they're not worth taking. But 130 points, I'd say they're definitely worth a punt, and they could be pretty good for defensive. As like I said, there's a lot of glass cannons in this army, so to have something that can take a bit of a beating and still be there at the end of it could be a good, useful tool in your army for sure, especially for objective play. They can be quite fast as well, depending on how lucky you are with that dice roll. And then the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, I think if you're taking Thunderscorn heavy, take your Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Sure, if you're not taking Thunderscorn heavy, which is an interesting one, is it worth taking a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth? If you got the points, I would say so, because when it comes to, you know, missions that you get extra points if you've got a hero nearby or you capture an objective with a hero, you don't have too many heroes in this army that are very tough, and your Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is the toughest. I mean, you've got the Doom Ball, obviously, with the 4-up save, but he's got 2 less wounds, so this guy is going to be a bit more tougher and has healing capabilities. So, yeah, that is my overall thoughts on these guys, I would say, as a summary. So, they're not the strongest units in the book, but they do have uses if used right. If you just charge them straight at the enemy and not really put much thought into it, then you're not going to get the most out of these guys at all, and you're going to think that they're wasted points. And you've got to be, as a lot of things I've mentioned this army, you've got to be tactical, of course. And because, you know, and I've mentioned this, I think, all the videos so far, that Beasts of Chaos are not the most competitive army. I try and get that at the start of the video, but I forgot this time. But you guys probably know, not the most competitive army. They don't win all the tournaments, obviously. And a lot of people refer to them as basically shit. But like I say, what I try and do in these videos is not over-glorify everything. Just go, oh yeah, that's really good. Yeah, you can take that and everything. What I try to do is go, right, this unit, it's not the best. What can we do? What purpose has it got? Dragon Ogres, you know, ogres that are, to be fair, these ogres are more hench than your standard ogres. They're not so fat, they're muscular. So these muscular, massive ogres, and then the lower half is a dragon, and they collide into the enemy like the power of a storm. Really offensive. And then you look at their rules and you go, actually, they're not like that. So let's take it back. What are we actually going to use them for? And that's actually going to be a defensive purpose, not an offensive purpose. So you just have to approach it a different mindset. And, you know, I could be wrong. You guys could have experience and you could be saying that it could be shouting on the screen. I don't know. But if you do disagree with me, like I say, please let me know in the comments, as I'll be so glad to hear from it. And as I'm still reviewing the Beast of Chaos, I'll learn from that when I look at the other stuff as well, which I believe the next video will be the monsters, so that'd be cool to see. But anyway, guys, I thank you very much for watching this video. It's been great to have you join me on this one, and if you enjoyed it, please smash that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. I do lots of reviews all the time, reviewing lots of armies in depth. I do why play videos, I do tributes. I do talking about news, all sorts of things. If you are interested in that sort of stuff, please hit the subscribe button. It really does help. And smash that like button as well, because if you did enjoy the video, that really does a massive job to help this channel on YouTube, in all honesty. And if you've got any questions, anything like that, I'll be happy to answer them best I can in the comments below. Like I said, if you agree with anything I said, disagree with anything I said, put it in the comments down below, and I'll love to have that discussion with you. And also want to give a massive shout out to the people who make this channel possible, and that is my patrons. They do an absolutely great job every month supporting the channel best they can, and that is what makes the channel be able to exist, essentially, with their funding. If you would like to support the channel a step further, there will be a link to my Patreon at the top of the description down below that you're more than welcome to check out, and anything you can give, I really can't thank you enough. Okay guys, so with that, again, I'm going to thank you very much for watching. Please stay safe, wash your hands, stay hygienic, social distance, everything in the world is going on right now. And of course, until next time, remember, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.